A shocking crime. New tonight on Our News Live at 7. The National Security Minister reveals a case involving a preteen whose sexual assault led to an abortion. Also, outrage tonight over a 2-year-old's death. His parents now possibly facing charges of manslaughter by negligence. And in tonight's Work in Progress segment, a problematic thoroughfare in Western New Providence in the spotlight. Find out plans for a temporary fix. Then in Our News at 7:30. Well deserving. Residents react tonight to the news of Mother Pratt's appointment to Governor General. Our News Live at 7 starts right now. Welcome to Our News Live at 7. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Candino Knowles. The untimely death of a 2-year-old boy on Saturday has left residents in shock, with dozens expressing outrage on social media. Joshua Williams reports in a moment on the reaction we've been seeing since the story first broke. But first, we've got the story of a shocking crime. The National Security Minister telling Our News police are looking into an assault that ended in a preteen being impregnated and eventually having an abortion. Berthany McDermott is on the story.
This latest vexing issue adds to what seemed to be a growing list of children who have fallen prey to sex predators in recent months, and the National Security Minister is speaking out.
I've had a troubling report of an 11-year-old girl who was impregnated by her mother's boyfriend, and then an abortion was procured through pills.
Monroe making the revelation today while expressing concern on the sidelines of the Interministerial Cybersecurity Workshop. He says he received the report this past weekend, adding the matter is troubling as children need safe places to seek refuge. The National Security Minister says there needs to be a more holistic approach to education.
When I was growing up, there was a push that you didn't talk to strangers. We need these sorts of messaging and messages back again, and that is what we intend to do.
He highlighted the recently passed Protection Against Violence bill, which criminalizes financial abuse.
Which is somebody is paying the rent, paying school fees, paying the mortgages, and use that as a lever to be able to take advantage of either the woman or the children because they will refuse to pay the rent, buy food, pay the mortgage, pay school fees unless they get their own way. The Protection Against Violence Act that was just passed protects against that type of behavior.
It came just a few days before police reported the sexual assault of an 8-year-old girl in New Providence. Earlier this month, the Bahamas Christian Council condemned what they say seemed to be a rape culture developing in the Bahamas after a 9-year-old girl was abducted and sexually assaulted. The National Security Minister says the police force is working towards a housing unit for children who are victims of sexual assaults. He sent this stern warning to anyone considering committing crimes like these.
For the people who are doing it, they need to stop it, because the likelihood is that if you are offending against young children, when you come to be released, whoever occupies the chair I occupy will have to issue a general notice to the public that you as a sexual offender is being released. So please stop it.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
All right, thanks a lot, Berthany. Well, a man accused of going on a rape and armed robbery spree while on bail for murder has been jailed for possession of an illegal gun. Shantino Roll was sentenced to 24 months in prison after he pleaded guilty to possession of a .40 pistol and 7 rounds of ammunition. Police say they found the loaded weapon while searching Roll's home on May 16th during an investigation into other crimes. Roll is awaiting trial on charges of rape, forcible taking, armed robbery, abetment to rape, assault, and threats of death. Now, the charges all stem from an incident that took place, or incidents that is, that took place from May 2nd and May 13th. Prosecutors are alleging that on May 2nd, Roll abetted the rape of a 31-year-old man. 2 days later, on May 4th, Roll and an accomplice allegedly abducted a 31-year-old taxi driver at gunpoint before taking her to the well fields, where she was sexually assaulted on May 4th and 5th and threatened with death. The men allegedly robbed the woman of her vehicle, 2 cell phones, and cash. At the time of those incidents, he was on bail for the February 22nd, 2018 murder of David Nelson, who was shot dead during the armed robbery off Gulfstream Foods. All right, now to the untimely death of a 2-year-old boy on Saturday that's left residents in shock. A lot of the outrage expressed on social media. Joshua Williams reports.
Police reported that the two parents were arrested after their son was found hanging out the rear window of their car on Saturday. Several comments call out the parents and others who are careless drivers. And this one saying that the incident is an example of why some people should not have kids. But there were many saying that not only should judgment not be passed on the young parents, they say it was an accident that should remind parents with small children to be more vigilant. Both the 23-year-old father and 20-year-old mother have been arrested for manslaughter by negligence. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, to see that story again, head over to ournews.bs. Meanwhile, families for all murder victims, once again, speaking out on behalf of victims, this time for those that have been accused of crimes themselves. Our Megan Shepard explains.
He was out on bail, or he was known to police. These words are confirmed more often than not by police officers on murder scenes. Director for Families of All Murder Victims, Candy Gibson, drawing attention to the stigma that can be attached to murder victims once these facts are revealed to the public.
When persons hear that, they automatically say, well, that's why he get killed, because he's known to the police, or that's why he get killed because he's a prolific offender, which everybody has the rights to live. In my opinion, only the way a person has the rights to be murdered if it's self-defense. A person has the right to protect their property, protect their family, protect themselves.
She says the mindset of those who have had loved ones murdered can be one of retaliation.
When you have a loved one murdered, the first thing you think is retaliation. And that's why I would often tell a person the first 48 hours of a loved one being murdered is very crucial, because if we're not hearing from the relevant sources and we hear from the streets, our family and friends go into the streets.
Gibson is asking for police to do more when it comes to suspects that have been cleared of investigations or charges.
When the police put a picture up saying wanted, the suspect is wanted, and when they brought the person into custody and after their due investigation, they realize the person is innocent. Please come back to the media, the public, and clear that person name, because family and friends, because we're grieving, we hurting, we waiting just for a name to be called or picture to be shown. And once that is shown, we then make up our minds from there that that person has to die.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan. We've got much more to get to in a moment, including tonight's Work in Progress segment that's back, a problematic thoroughfare in Western New Providence in the spotlight. That particular thoroughfare always experiencing a flooding. And speaking of flooding, we've seen some localized flooding over the past few days. With that, it's time for your first look at temperatures. Meteorologist Greg Thompson, he's in the Weather Center. And Greg, as I said, the last few days, that the rain that's been off and on, the roads have been quite flooded.
We've had a couple of tropical waves, a couple of disturbances move through. I did record 1.5 inches rainfall in my property. That was on Saturday when we had that disturbance. We have also some showers out there that's actually dropping some heavy rainfall across the northwest Bahamas. You'll see that in our satellite picture, but we are going to protect, hopefully protect against those flooding. 86 degrees and mostly cloudy skies. It's humid outside our studios right now. Your winds out of the southwest at 10 miles per hour. And it makes it feel like 95 degrees on the outside. Taking a look at our temperatures around the islands tonight. Right now, it's pretty much, humid across the northwest Bahamas. 86 in Freeport, 85 in Alistown, Bimini, Great Harbor Key, and in Nicholstown, 83 in Marsh Harbor. Governor's Harbor, you guys are 86. Central Bahamas, 87 in Kemps Bay. More 86s in Arthurstown, Cat Island, Georgetown, and Deadman's Key. Coben Townsend, Salvador, 84. And in the southeast Bahamas, 86 in Duncantown, Ragged Island, Delectable Bay. Colonel Hill, Cricket Island, 87. Matthewtown, now 87. Providenciales, you guys are 87 as well. And Abrahams Bay, you round out our temperature profile. You are the warm spot at 88. Satellite and radar composite showing showers and thunderstorms across our area, and those showers and thunderstorms will continue to be the story for the night. There's a disturbance just to the west of us, but an upper level low just spinning just to the northeast of the Bahamas. That's actually destabilizing the atmosphere. So we're seeing those showers and thunderstorms continuing through tonight and into tomorrow. And as you mentioned, locally heavy rainfall could produce some flooding across some parts of the northwest Bahamas. So do exercise caution if you're moving around. That's your first look at weather. Stick with us to look at your extended forecast is still to come.
We are just getting started in our news, but when we come back, Work in Progress is back tonight. Learn about a temporary fix for a problematic thoroughfare in Western New Providence. But first, downtown vendors claiming the money isn't trickling down following the much-anticipated opening of Nassau Cruise Port. And why the foreign minister says a formal agreement is needed for a maritime boundary line between the Bahamas and TCI when Our News returns. The Nassau Cruise Port continues to welcome tens of thousands of tourists weekly, numbers the Ministry of Tourism has been touting about regularly. Our news team visited the downtown area where vendors telling our Megan Shepard the tourist dollars don't seem to be trickling down as easily or as evenly as they would like.
Location, location, location. Businesses located downtown are relearning the importance of this golden real estate rule. You see, some businesses located to the east of the new multi-million-dollar port say they've been experiencing drastically less foot traffic since the port's redevelopment and grand reopening.
Usually down here, the money would be like flowing, consistent, but now since the opening, you barely see any tourists down here want to come out of the port, and like the money drastically changed. Like, I would say 500% less profit now.
Business been really bad since the port, but before the port it was booming. But since the port hit, yeah, down to Prince George Plaza, been dead.
As you can see now, it's kind of like, I think they were opened earlier today, now they're closed. So like, yeah, it's kind of affecting this particular arcade now.
But on the other hand, if your business sits at the western end where tourists now depart the port, or if you're lucky enough to sit directly across from the port, these associates say business is on the upswing.
The gate position actually helped us out because we were across from the gate. But I understand those who have that issue because it was at one point it was down on the eastern end, and then they gave tourists chance to walk more of the strip rather than coming out here. So they don't usually turn that way anymore. They come straight this way and head. So, I mean, it works out for us, but it ain't fair for everyone.
The business is crazy to the back. You have a lot of new cab drivers, a lot of officers making sure everything is run smoothly. No one is being harassed. No one is being taken advantage of in the back here. So business is flowing good in downtown, you know.
This sales associate believes more can be done to help spread the business throughout the area.
How the port is designed, there's a gate adjacent to like every parallel street. Maybe if they open that back up or even put some signage to like kind of get the tourists to come back this week.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Megan Shepard.
All right, thanks a lot, Megan. Well, government strengthening ties with Turks and Caicos Islands. This as both governments met recently to discuss the maritime boundary delimitation between the two countries. Foreign Affairs Minister Fred Mitchell telling us that government's position is clear, and that is to draw a line down the middle. However, Mitchell says they will have to come to a formal agreement on the border.
During the course of the meetings, delegates undertook the technical exercise of delimiting an agreed boundary which is vital for the effective management of the Bahamas maritime resources, as well as its law enforcement activities in the region. Settling unresolved maritime boundaries in accordance with international law is a key part of the government's larger national maritime policy initiative. Starting position is down the middle, the median, and that's the position that we settled with Cuba, and that's the position that we'll be maintaining going along. During the course of the meetings, delegates undertook the technical exercise of delimiting an agreed boundary which is vital for the effective management of the Bahamas maritime resources, as well as its law enforcement activities in the region. Settling unresolved maritime boundaries in accordance with international law is a key part of the government's larger national maritime policy initiative.
Now, this is the third round of formal negotiations between the two countries over the delimitations of the maritime boundary between the two countries. The last set of talks were held in 1996.
The establishment of a maritime border between the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos will enhance the relative successful cooperative security arrangements that exist between us, as recently embodied in the Bahamas TCI 2022 Maritime Security Agreement. More importantly, it will establish the legal certainty necessary to pursue other beneficial initiatives, whether independently or collaboratively. So the conclusion of these negotiations will be to the mutual benefit of our region as another milestone, further cementing our relationship with the Turks and Caicos Island.
All right, now to our weekly Work in Progress segment. Our Talia Hall speaks with a senior engineer in the Ministry of Works about a major thoroughfare here in the Western District of New Providence. It's become a problem for road users. Take a look.
It's a road used by many for their daily commute, whether you're going to work or home. You may have noticed when driving your vehicles on Windsor Field Road, some parts of the ride are extremely bumpy. Civil engineer in the Ministry of Works, Francis Clark, says those bumps and potholes were caused by heavy rainfall over the past several months.
We mobilized a crew there to raise the area to minimize any type of flooding, and we are hoping that this will resolve our situation, but this is just really a temporary situation until we can complete a full design to raise the road. So the idea right now is the Ministry of Works is trying to redesign and reconstruct the road, Windsor Field Road, from Tropical Gardens Road all the way to Charlottesville.
And some paving has been done as a temporary fix.
The construction is not complete yet. So I would tell people be cautious until we complete works in that area. We've started works in that area to fix the problem, but it's only a temporary fix.
As for a permanent solution, he says that can take up to 2 years, as constructing roads is a complex process, adding that all of the underground utilities are changed.
It takes a great deal of coordination, because once we start construction on an existing road, we also have to maintain the services for people who live on that area or have businesses in that area, so we wouldn't have any disruption to their businesses or daily life.
Reporting for Work in Progress for Our News, I'm Talia Hall.
When our news comes back from the break, we turn our spotlight to stories making headlines across the world as a new poll shows Americans deeply divided over former President Donald Trump's election fraud cases. Plus, a short-lived payday for Bank of Ireland customers after a banking glitch allows account holders to withdraw money they did not have. And a massive cocaine seizure by the Mexican Navy. 3 suspects are now in police custody. The story when our news returns. This is our news. Welcome back. We turn our attention now to stories making headlines across the world. A new poll shows Americans are deeply divided along party lines in their views of President Donald Trump's actions in the most recent criminal charges brought against him. The poll from the Associated Press Newark Center for Public Affairs research shows about half of respondents say his alleged attempt to interfere in Georgia's 2020 vote count was illegal. Overall, 3 in 10 Americans disapprove, including about 2/3 of Republicans. Meanwhile, survivors of deadly wildfires on Maui facing intermittent power and unreliable cell service as they begin rebuilding their lives. This as authorities are still searching for the dead and identifying them. With the death toll already at least 106, a mobile morgue unit with additional coroners arrived in Hawaii on Tuesday to help with sorting through remains. The governor warning that a new storm could complicate the search and recovery. A technical fault for several hours Tuesday allowed Bank of Ireland customers to withdraw funds they did not have. The Irish Times reports the now resolved glitch affecting the bank's app and website meant people were able to transfer up to 1,000 euros to a digital account and then withdraw that sum from an ATM, even if there were insufficient funds in their accounts. The bank has said sorry for the incident, which saw queues form as people scrambled to exploit the fault. But the bank warning now that funds will be debited from their accounts. And a retired American football star whose rags to riches tale was adapted into an Oscar-winning Hollywood film has alleged the story is built on lies. In the 2009 movie The Blind Side, Michael Orr, a foster child in Tennessee, is adopted by a wealthy white couple and blooms into a star college athlete. However, Orr, now 37, alleges in a court filing he was never adopted and was instead tricked into a conservatorship. He alleges Sean and Leanne Toohey made millions of dollars from his name. An attorney for the Toohey family told the BBC the hurtful and absurd claims were part of an effort to shake down the couple for money. And now to the region where Mexico's Navy said it seized an open boat carrying 3 tons of cocaine about 200 nautical miles off the Pacific coast on Tuesday. The Navy said 3 suspects were detained aboard the craft. The boat was carrying 80 sacks that contained 6,130 pounds of cocaine. The Navy said it also found a sack with about 55 pounds of cocaine floating in the Caribbean Sea. Meanwhile, firefighters in Dominican Republic struggling to extinguish a blaze caused by a deadly explosion near the capital Santo Domingo this week. This as authorities say they found 2 more bodies Wednesday, bringing the death toll to 13. They say the number of victims is expected to increase since responders have not been able to fully access the building where the explosion occurred on Monday. 10 people remain missing.
An investigation will be carried out to determine the origin and causes of this terrible accident. In the meantime, it is up to us to save the lives of those who have been affected, and we will do so without any limit of resources to save every human life we can with God's help. Once we're done putting out the fire, we will send disaster technicians, who are the structural assessment technicians, to reinforce the buildings and see if it is safe to allow us to enter. First the canines, then the rescuers, to recover the bodies we might find there. Because, unfortunately, since yesterday, the building has been completely burnt down, and we don't think we will find people alive.
And finally, an early morning earthquake rattled parts of Trinidad and Tobago on Tuesday, but there were no immediate reports of damage and injuries. The Seismic Research Center at the St. Augustine campus of University of West Indies said the quake had a magnitude of 4.0 and struck at a depth of 79 kilometers. Barbados also rattled by that earthquake. Well, a 40-member swim team left for Jamaica this morning to participate in the Goodwill Games. But before they left, our Sasha Lightbourne attended their final practice.
And that was how the final practice for Team Bahamas went at the St. Anne's School pool. The team will head to Jamaica along with a 4-coach team. Team captain spoke to Our News about their expectations.
I'm really grateful and honored to be not only on the team, but a captain of the team. I'm excited to motivate the kids.
Making this team is an accomplishment. Being the captain is an accomplishment. I'm honored to be chosen as a captain. I'm very excited to know that this team is going to do well. Not probably, it's going to do well and try to bring home the goal and victory.
It's a happy moment for me, generally, just because it shows from the coaches and from the parents that they trust me and they trust that I would be able to be a part of leading this team to victory.
And you think this team is going to do well?
Yes, ma'am, for sure, definitely.
I'm honored to be captain. I honestly didn't really expect to be captain with alongside so many experienced and talented swimmers, and there are many of those on this team. And then they're also very young and up-and-coming swimmers with a lot of promise. And together with that, I feel like this team can do a lot of good things in Jamaica.
Head coach of the team is Dylan Brown.
Well, our expectations, #1 spot, we're going to win. That's the mentality that we're going into the meet with, to be #1 and to come out champions. We've put in the work. We've been working right after nationals, so we've been doing this for almost over a month and a half. We've been working. We have a great team working around the swimmers.
Brown will be assisted by Dwayne Davis Jr., Khadijah Culmer, and David Jimenez. Reporting for Our News, I'm Sasha Lightbourne.
Still to come in Our News today in history, find out interesting facts about the day that was August 16th. Then in Our News at 7:30, the taxi cab union chief goes on record tonight over that now viral video reviewing a local taxi experience. Why he's insisting one bad apple does not spoil the bunch. Plus, threats of industrial action loom ahead of the new academic year. The teachers union says 242, get ready. Welcome back to Our News. It's time now to turn our spotlight on events that shaped the day that was August 16th. Take a look. On this day in Bahamian history in 1939, the world's first undersea post office opened in waters off New Providence. The official name was Seafloor, Nassau, Bahamas. The photosphere was so famous, the inventor of the telephone, Alexander Graham Bell, came to the Bahamas to see it for himself. John Ernest Williamson, who was born in Liverpool, England, brought his incredible invention to the Bahamas in February 1914. There was nothing like it in the world and made the Bahamas famous in the early 20th century. Then 42 years later in 1981, Levan Sands was born in Nassau. Sands is a track and field athlete specializing in the long jump and triple jump. Also in 2016, another athlete was being praised for her gold medal win at the Olympics in Rio. Shawnee Miller dove to her gold medal finish in the 400-meter race, beating American Allison Felix. The controversial dive sparked a heated debate on social media as Bahamians clapped back at critics who decried the move.
Jump on my seat last night watching that is awesome. Simply the best. To me, a win is a win, don't matter how it is. Once you get over the line first, that was it, you know? It's just like you going fishing, dive for the best conch or dive for the best crawfish. You get it? It's good, man.
In 2020, the Bahamas recorded a new single-day record of COVID-19 cases. Health officials reported 133 additional cases, with 102 of them on New Providence. At the time, there was a total of 1,252 cases nationwide. This, as it was also announced, then opposition leader Philip Davis and then Senator Dr. Michael Darvo were both seeking medical attention out of an abundance of caution after Davis tested positive for the virus. He was the first MP to report contracting COVID-19.
I'm in hospital, receiving excellent care. My family and I thank you for the many prayers and well wishes we have received.
And finally, in 2022, 51-year-old Craig Johnson was sentenced to 21 years in prison, 10 years after stabbing his girlfriend 23 times. 33-year-old Shaka Khan Moss was killed in front of their children and other witnesses following an argument at a funeral repast on August 22, 2009. Johnson, who was out on bail for 7 years, took responsibility and pleaded guilty ahead of his trial. All right. To watch that historical recap again and for all of today's top stories, you can visit ournews.bs. It's going to do it for us at News at 7. Joining us now is Italia Hall with the latest headlines. Italia?
Yes, Ken, happy Wednesday. We're halfway there.
halfway through.
Yeah. All right. Thanks so much, Ken. Well, the taxi cab union chief goes on record tonight over that now viral video reviewing a local taxi experience. Plus, threats of industrial action loom ahead of the new academic year. Here are your latest headlines.
Potential damage first tonight on our news live at 7:30 following a complaint by a tourist that's now gone viral. The president of the Bahamas Taxi Cab Union is weighing in. This as the Director General of Tourism calling the incident an opportunity for reflection. Her full comments are straight ahead.
Come September 1st, there'll be a new Governor General at the helm, Cynthia Mother Pratt. I'm Jamila Mizik with residents' reaction tonight.
And later, industrial action may be on the way, the threat coming from the teachers union chief when our news live at 7:30 returns. Welcome to our news and thank you for joining us. I'm Italia Hall. The conversation over a controversial incident involving tourists and a taxi cab driver continues tonight, with industry stakeholders weighing in saying the incident that has now gone viral is unfortunate, but does not reflect the industry overall. Our Joshua Williams is following this and has their reaction.
Taxi Cab Union President Wesley Ferguson among various stakeholders sounding off tonight on that viral video where a tourist claims she and her party of 18 were allegedly stranded after a taxi driver failed to return.
When you make an agreement with somebody and you collect their money, as a taxi driver, you need to see it through right to the end. See it through right to the end, and if there is some additional charges that may incur as a result of you putting in an extra overtime, you discuss that with the guests, and 9 chances out of 10, they will agree and they will take care of you.
Ferguson remembers a time when taxi drivers were considered the gatekeepers of the industry.
We made sure every tourist made that cruise ship. Sometimes we had to break speed limits to make sure those tourists got back on that cruise ship on time. And there were times when we actually had to engage a tugboat to stop the cruise ship out just beyond the bar to make sure those tourists get back on the cruise ship.
But Ferguson isn't the only one concerned about this latest incident that could potentially damage the country's reputation as a leading destination. Over at the Nassau Cruise Port, veteran taxi driver Neville Tu told our news despite the incident, he believes the majority of drivers can still be trusted.
It's a daily struggle for us to deal with the bad apples. You know, the government just recently gave out a number plate, so that also means that we have a number of new persons in the business now. So we as old or persons that have been in the business, you know, we only could kind of infringe on the new drivers. Would we, you know...
Putting Neville's claims to the test, we asked several visitors about their transportation experience.
Told us about the history and of the country and showed the different areas of it. It's a good experience.
We weren't ready, and he still came back and waited for the second time. So he was amazing. Anyone that comes to the Bahamas, I will recommend him. And he kept us entertained, too, while he was driving.
We spoke with tourism officials who, up to News Time, said attempts by their New York offices to reach a disgruntled visitor were unsuccessful. Reporting for Our News, I'm Joshua Williams.
All right, well, following that viral video of a tourist claiming she was allegedly left behind by a taxi driver after she paid huge sums of money, Director General at the Ministry of Tourism, Investments and Aviation, Latia Duncombe, says while she's disappointed, she believes the incident presents an opportunity for reflection.
We do so much to bring visitors to our shores, to attract them on a global scale. And it's so important that when they come to our shores, that we deliver on expectation. Within the Ministry of Tourism, we have a department that's called Visitor Relations. And so whenever something of this nature occurs, we immediately spring into action, engage, reach out to the visitor, because it's what we do after that experience. We cannot control every unpleasant experience, but it's what we can do as a result of it.
Now, while taxi drivers serve as frontline representatives in tourism, Duncombe reminding residents of the important role all Bahamians play.
We are all ambassadors, we are. And never underestimate the interaction, because that interaction with a visitor, no matter how big or small, determines whether they have a wonderful time and tell a friend and come again, or whether they make a decision never to return. So yes, our taxi drivers are in close proximity on a regular basis with our visitors, but so are many other stakeholders and industry professionals. And if there's a greater awareness of the importance of the visitor relations and the experience, then as a people we can ensure that this unique experience, that hospitality, becomes the order of the day.
Another person arraigned for that bar fight on East Sunrise Highway in Grand Bahama on June 27th. 24-year-old Stefan Moss of Sergeant Major Road stood before Magistrate LaQuay Lang in Court Number 3 for conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to endanger life and conspiracy to possess a firearm with intent to cause public terror. Moss, who was represented by attorney Paco Deal, pled not guilty. An $8,500 bail was granted with one suretor. Additionally, he is not to make any contact with witnesses and will be required to sign in at the Central Police Station once a week. The case was adjourned until September 1st. On September 1st, there will be a new Governor General at the helm, Cynthia Mother Pratt. Our Jamila Mizik spoke to residents today about the recent announcement. Let's take a look.
Cynthia Mother Pratt will serve as the next Governor General of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. In a statement on Tuesday, Prime Minister Philip Davis expressed confidence that the new appointment will be widely accepted as a representation of Bahamians everywhere due to the character and contributions, which he says distinguishes her as a nationalist of the highest order. Well, we put that question to residents today, and they say they agree.
She has been very active politically, sports and everything.
I feel that she's well deserving of this honor.
Well deserving. I'm glad she get it before she died.
Prime Minister Davis couldn't pick a better person.
Someone who cares for the community and cares about people and genuinely care and no pretense.
She has been a mother to the Grove community and also the entire Bahamas. She's a Christian lady. I believe it is a very good move.
And then there was this resident I spoke to who says she believes the appointment is not only a good choice, but an inspiration.
Because I understand Mother Pratt's story and, you know, growing up in the Grove area and being able to go to college and become a member of Parliament and now the Governor General. So I think it's very inspiring, especially for our young people, you know, who may grow up in the inner city and to have aspirations to, you know, ascend to those great heights.
Cynthia Pratt was born on November 5th, 1940. 45 in New Providence, and her life of service includes contributions to nursing, education, politics, sports, and religion. She served with dedication for 15 years as the Member of Parliament for the St. Cecilia constituency. Her political career is also highlighted by several firsts, as she was appointed the first female Deputy Prime Minister and first female Minister of National Security. The appointment takes effect on September 1st. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jamila Mizik.
Thanks for that report, Jamila. Well, we're halfway through the work week and temperatures are still hot, but there's some rain in the forecast. Meteorologist Greg Thompson is in the Weather Center live with a first check on weather. Greg, what can we expect?
Remember that saying you said when you were in high school, rain, rain, go away, come back another day?
Will we have more rain?
We want the rain.
Okay.
It's going to keep us a little cool. We've been seeing some hot temperatures, so any rainfall that we get, with the exception of those heavy rainfall that cause the flooding, we don't really need. But yeah, some rain is still out there. 85 degrees outside our studios and mostly cloudy skies. South-southwest winds at 9 miles per hour, and that is making it feel like a very warm 95 degrees on the outside. Satellite radar composite showing a disturbance. That's actually in the mid and upper level, just at northeast of the Bahamas. That's pumping some moisture across the area and keeping us a little unstable. So showers and thunderstorms across the northwest Bahamas will continue tonight through tomorrow, but eventually the system will move out. There is some Saharan dust that's going to be moving across us, so it's going to get dry for the remainder of the week, but another tropical wave should get near sometime by the weekend, so more showers in the forecast. That's a quick check on conditions outside our studios and around the island. Stick with us. So look at your extended forecast. It's still to come.
Still to come on Our News, industrial action looms as the teachers union chief laments payment issues. Also, officers to be reinstated on school campuses, the National Security Minister detailing plans for the upcoming school year. And later, the wife of the Prime Minister, Anne-Marie Davis, charged with leading a high-level event on gender-based violence. We have the full story when Our News returns.
We are learning several BPL generator units are offline, resulting in supply disruptions across the island. The power company advising consumers about potential power outages just moments ago via Facebook. The company writing that presently teams are investigating and will begin repairs as soon as possible. For more on this, head on over to ournews.bs. Well, industrial action could soon be on the way. That's according to Bahamas Union of Teachers President Belinda Wilson. This after she says mounting concerns, including issues with payment, have not been addressed. Wilson telling Our News today that there was a meeting with members last evening where they voted for industrial action sooner than later.
There are a number of teachers who are subject coordinators, they are level heads, they are coaches, they have various clubs. So the responsibility allowances have not been paid to many of them. It's been promised every month. Every month it's been promised. We have teachers who are owed funds. They have marked exams, they have completed summer school and still awaiting their funds. And the point about it is, yes, we are teachers, yes, we are passionate, yes, we love our students, but teachers are human beings too.
Wilson says although they've been quiet publicly, they've been expressing their concerns internally on a daily basis.
We have a large number of teachers who are still waiting for confirmation letters. So they've been teaching for several years. They've not been confirmed. A lot of them need to be reclassified from a teacher's aide to a trained teacher because they've received additional qualifications. And when these matters are not addressed in a timely manner, again, it impacts the life of our members.
As schools gear up to reopen, the National Security Minister is detailing the policing strategy for the upcoming semester. He says the Royal Bahamas Police Force will again be deploying officers to school campuses.
The Commissioner of Police advises me that we have 2 trainers from the U.S. in country or coming to country to further upgrade the competencies of our school resource officers, and he has also increased the officers deployed to that unit.
The 13th Commonwealth Women's Affairs Ministers meeting is held every 4 years and gives Commonwealth countries the opportunity to discuss critical issues in advancing gender equality and women's empowerment. This year, wife of the Prime Minister, Anne-Marie Davis, has been charged with leading a high-level side event on gender-based violence. She credits her passion for women empowerment, gender equality, and her efforts to end gender-based violence as to how the event came about.
We are seen to be one of the fighters out there for women empowerment, gender equality, ending gender-based violence, climate control, everything that negatively affects women and girls and society as a whole. We have been seen to be in the fight for this globally, and this is why they have asked us to host a side event, which will take a different format.
The high-level side event will be held under the theme Transformative Leadership for Gender Equality and Women Empowerment. Davis says it will highlight the Caribbean perspective on issues facing women within the Commonwealth. And you can see Mrs. Davis on the Record with Jerome Sawyer tomorrow night at 8. You don't want to miss it.
Jonquel Jones wins Commissioner's Cup MVP. Jazz season picks up a couple of hits, and the Bahamas national basketball team gets ready to ride again. Don't go anywhere. Our sports is coming up next.
Temperatures in the high 80s on this Wednesday, but there's some rain in the forecast. Hopefully temperatures cool down a bit. Greg is back in the Weather Center when Our News returns. Stay with
Today's sports update is sponsored by Michelob Ultra, distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
This is our news. Welcome back. Jonquil Jones and the Liberty win the Commissioner's Cup. Jazz Chisholm makes some exciting plays, and the national team takes on Argentina tonight. Here's Tage Adderley with a check on sports. Tage?
Thanks, Atai. Hello, good evening. Welcome to Our Sports. I'm Tage Adderley. Jonquil Jones and the Liberty played a rematch of Sunday's blowout against the Las Vegas Aces last night for the Commissioner's Cup. They showed that Sunday's result was not a fluke. Jonquil Jones and the New York Liberty cemented their status as the WNBA's best team last night as they knocked off the defending champs to win the Commissioner's Cup 82-63, handing the Aces their first home loss of the season. JJ walked away with the MVP thanks to a 15-point-16 rebound night. Leading scorers Sabrina Ionescu and Brianna Stewart had a rough night on offense, but it didn't matter with JJ patrolling the paint because she anchored a tenacious Liberty defense that gave up a stingy 33% shooting night to the team with the best record in the league. She also guarded reigning Finals MVP A'ja Wilson, leading her to shoot a miserable 2 for 9 shooting night. Marine Johannes led the Liberty in scoring off the bench with 17 points. Now, Liberty beat the Aces on Sunday, running and gunning. Last night's game was more of a grit and grind game, and they were also able to prevail. They're the favorites by a mile to win the championship. Congratulations to JJ and the Liberty. I have a feeling they'll see the Aces again in the finals. Moving on to the Diamond, Jazz Chisholm picked up a couple of hits last night for Miami. Jazz Chisholm went 2 for 4 last night as his Miami Marlins narrowly lost to the Houston Astros 6-5. Jazz hit a single and a triple, showing off his electrifying speed on the backs to score twice and put the Marlins up 4-2. Unfortunately for him and for Miami, the Astros will mount a comeback rally, taking their final lead in the 7th inning. That was a tough loss for Jazz and the Fish, but they're back at it against the Stros right now. Before we go, the star-studded Bahamian national team will play against perhaps their toughest opponent in the pre-Olympic qualifying tournament when they take on the host country, Argentina, tonight. This may be the best game of the entire tournament, and a win against such a tough, experienced opponent will signify that the Bahamas is ready to compete with the world. I'll be here tomorrow with the results, and you can be sure to check our social media and website for highlights and results. That'll do it for sports today. I'm Tage Adderley.
Another hot day in the capital, but we've had some scattered showers. Greg is back in the Weather Center with more weather details when our news continues.
Welcome back to our news. Another hot day in the capital, but lots of rain is expected this week. Greg is back in the Weather Center live with your extended forecast. Now, Ken, Greg said, do not wash your car. It's going to be lots of rain.
She said that. I didn't have anything to do with that. She said it.
Yeah, don't wash your car. Lots of rain.
Not for the week. We're going to get some tonight through tomorrow. There's a surface trough and an upper level disturbance that's keeping us a little destabilized. So showers and thunderstorms will continue with us, but most of this activity is going to slide out towards the west and into the Gulf of Mexico. The tropics is now getting a little active out there. We're watching actually 3 systems, 2 right now on the map. One is a tropical wave in the central Atlantic. Another one just coming off the African coast near the Cape Verde Islands. Both of those have a medium chance for formation, but they're likely to stay out into the open Atlantic. But this disturbance and a surface, not the tropical wave, expected to move in the Gulf of Mexico. National Hurricane Center is going to watch that one, but it's going to move away from us. So over the next couple of days, things will be a little more active. These are what's going to be happening out there in the open Atlantic. Those 2 out there in the open Atlantic, and then, of course, the one in the Gulf of Mexico. Future forecast showing the moisture associated with the surface trough across Florida will stay basically across that area. Most of the activity will be to the north of us. A couple of showers across our area through tomorrow, and then by Thursday into Friday, some residual moisture, but a dry air mass with some Saharan dust will be moving in, and that should keep us a little drier for the remainder of the week. And of course, that tropical wave will be getting in here by the weekend. Some more showers will be in the forecast. Plan on doing any beaching or boating for the northwest Bahamas tonight to tomorrow. Southeast and southerly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas 2 to 4 feet over the ocean. Your high tide will be at 8:57 tonight. Caution flag for the central and southeastern islands. East to southeast winds at 15 to 20 knots. They will be gusting at times. Seas will be running 4 to 7 feet over open waters. Here's a look now at your national forecast. In your extended forecast, we'll keep a little bit of residual showers, and of course through Thursday, but by the weekend that tropical wave will bring us some moisture, and then things dry out for early next week, and those temperatures will stay back near the 90-degree mark. That's a look at our weather. Back to you, Gail.
All right, thanks so much, Greg, and thank you for joining us for our news tonight. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Natalia Hall. We'll see you tomorrow night. Have a great evening.